Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to discuss technology and hardware solutions for education. My name is Brandon Sorensen with Rahi here in Fremont, California. For those of you who don't know Rahi yet, we are a California-based IT and AV solutions provider with locations across the US and around the world. We provide a full life cycle of design, products, and services that custom fit the technology needs of companies and educational institutions just like yours. Our goal for today's webinar is to provide you with the information needed to help solve any challenges you might be facing today within your unique environment. For today's webinar, we wanted to bring Zoom and Logitech into the conversation, since these two companies have been at the forefront of solving these challenges through their products and technologies, and have placed an emphasis around solutions and education, or for education and the classroom. Their focus and goal during COVID is to provide educators, students, and parents with a very immersive experience while simplifying the technology for users to make that experience seamless. Before I get too much further into it, I want to let everyone know there is a Q&A section. So if you have any questions, you can post your questions there. You also have the ability to upvote questions if somebody already asked a question that you also wanted to ask. So with that said, let me introduce our panel today. And before I get into our panel, I want to make everybody aware that, everyone on this panel today we're not just a solutions provider, but we also have kids of our own that are on the education side and experiencing distance learning. So you have a comprehensive team here that really understands the challenges on both the student side and the educator side. So without further ado, let me get into it here. First off, we have Anthony Lee with Zoom. And we also have Roseanne Cohen with Logitech. Both are subject matter experts around education and in the classroom. Welcome to the panel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Let's start off with engagement in the classroom. We get a lot of questions around how do we make engagement between students who are distance learning better with students who are in the classroom, more of a hybrid environment. How does Zoom Rooms and Logitech solve for this? And specifically, how do they solve for it in the middle school and high school environments?
Yeah, absolutely. Brandon, thank you so much for the intro. Again, I'm Anthony Lee. I'm on the Zoom Room side. I'm a subject matter expert for education and the Zoom Room collaborative space. Before we start, I actually want to send a big heartfelt thank you to all the educators, everybody out there that has an impact on engaging our children, taking care of them, making sure they get an education. Because a parent myself that works a 9 to 5 every single day, I just can't thank you guys enough, because you guys are truly saving us and you're truly the future of our children. So thank you for that. So I often think about, where were we 1 year ago? We were focused on, pandemic happened, lockdown happened. Everybody was scrambling to find out a solution on what do we have to do to be able to get our students connected. And so everyone ran to Zoom. But here we are 1 year later, truly thinking about, it's not about just connecting your students. It's about engaging, kind of delivering that human experience to the students online and the students that are learning in person as well, while making everything easier for the teacher. I want to show you guys a little image here about what it is like to be in a blended learning environment. This is a concept that we worked on, and the way that we developed this was hosting roundtable discussions with numerous school districts, with IT leaders, with educators themselves from K through 12 all the way to higher ed, to understand what they want out of a solution to make it work. Initially, what educators were telling us were for their current solution was they were putting the camera towards the back of the room focused on the teacher, or vice versa, in the front of the room focused on the students. And unfortunately, that didn't really work out that well, because there was only one person in there that was focused on, and that was the teacher, right? And that necessarily that worked, but there was a better solution, because now with these blended learning environments with students going back to class, we need to develop something that, we can engage the students online. We can eliminate that separation between the students online and the students in class. For example, notice that we're coupled this TV on a mobile cart with a rally bar. That rally bar can see our teachers, it can see our students, so that, you're essentially creating an experience for the people behind the lens learning virtually to be able to have that experience as if they were in the class. But then we took it to the next level with Zoom rooms, because part of the engagement piece is making sure that we have the capability to be able to share content and collaborate equally. And what does that mean? Let's say we have Sally, who has her water bottle and her smart device, or let's say her laptop sitting in front of her. If she needs to share content, typically what happens for the student in person was they would actually just hold up their device that they have there, and they'd be able to show it to the students that sit around her and also the teacher. What doesn't work, because the students online can't see and the students across the classroom can't see. But when you use a Zoom room, it has the capability now to be able to cast that content onto that big screen so that the students can see in person, and the students online have the same exact experience as the individual sitting at the front of the class. Hopefully that helps out with painting the picture of like what we're doing within the Zoom room to be able to simplify it, because that's what it comes down to, is creating a human experience where it's simple for the teacher.
Absolutely. And if I could just jump on that, Zoom and Logitech became household names over the past year, and it really boils down to the simplicity of the Zoom platform and Logitech's ability to have those USB plug and play, get up and running from any environment. So we were able to build this trust with our education customers and really meet them where they are, regardless of where they had to teach or learn. But as educational institutions are looking at what's the future of learning look like, and how do we adapt classrooms for the future of learning, it really boils down to ensuring that we can engage students in the classroom by supporting the use cases. And so if we could just share maybe just a couple of the leading use cases that Logitech sees in the classroom today. Again, having the ability to support face-to-face communications and support students where they want to learn through distance learning applications. Maybe being able to bring in experts from outside the classroom, take virtual field trips for a K through 12 classroom that really allows you to enhance the curriculum for students in the class, and giving them those experiences with professionals out there in the world today. And then you might have an application where you have administrators or school board meetings, or you're trying to support professional development and training. These are leading use cases and that are actually supported by the CARES Act funding that's available today. So if you're looking to establish video and use cases that support these leading use cases, they are funding opportunities. And then unique applications, like how do we support the physical, mental, and mental health of our students by setting up unique school-based healthcare applications, and then again, supporting esports or other extracurricular activities. So when we're looking at how can we engage students and educators where they are, whether it's a classroom or from a boardroom, Logitech and Zoom really want to work with educational institutions to understand those leading use cases. It makes all the difference. And then if I could just kind of take you into the Zoom for Education ecosystem, because I think it's great to understand how Logitech and Zoom have been so successful. And first, Zoom brings that complete unified communications platform that really supports all those new ways of teaching and learning, whether you're from a classroom or again, from a boardroom, whether you're trying to host school events, but Zoom brings that unified voice video platform, and Logitech complements that platform with our hardware solutions that are really built for that high definition video, supporting that personalized interactive communications, and giving educators the space, right, to move naturally within the classroom and making it easy for them to share content with students regardless of where they are.
Excellent. To help our viewers better understand this, why don't we show the case study for Appleby right now, which details this a little bit further.
Appleby is an independent day and boarding school. We've got students from over 40 different countries. When things hit hard in March and everybody went into lockdown, it's safe to say that we were all in emergency remote learning mode. We had our core principles around wanting to have a very rigorous experience and wanting to keep people connected. And so we were looking at ways to try to hold on to that as best we could. And that's not something that can happen just with a teacher with a laptop and all of the students individually on theirs. And so that was really the driving point for us when we looked at the Logitech system, was to capitalize on that classroom interaction. We have this model where we have half of the students in physically during the day and the other half at home. We kind of talk about it almost as if they're like the back row of your classroom.
Logitech was particularly compelling in terms of price point. We're running over 50 classrooms. We were really just overwhelmingly pleased with the performance and the reliability. Where Logitech really won out was the user experience. Entering a room and just hitting that one button to start the meeting would immediately put teachers and faculty at ease.
I remember visiting in the summer and just seeing the first high-flex rooms start to get set up with the Zoom console and the camera and thinking, this is unbelievable.
If we put in a system that's complicated and we don't have the resources in-house to support it, it would have been a nightmare for us. The sync portal gives us the status of the system online, the equipment uptime in each room, and the ability for us to push firmware updates to all the rooms remotely.
When we first launched, we had our network analysis tool on, and it was just great to see all these Logitech Zoom rooms come online, and those numbers started to grow throughout the day.
I would say out of all of the new tools that we brought in, this has been the one that people have had to think about the least.
With the combination of in-class and then online learning, something to think about is how much do you value that interaction between your students and teachers. This new system has really helped us bring that back.
It's about as close as I think as we can come to having all of those students in the class and have that be a high quality experience that you can count on.
That's quite a powerful video and really shows the impact that these two technologies and the hardware can make on an environment when properly rolled out, right? And we know that there's a huge learning curve around new technologies when they're brought into the classroom, especially a hybrid one, and it puts a lot of pressure on educators, students, and parents, quite honestly. How was Appleby able to approach this and make it so successful?
Well, wow, that was a pretty powerful video. So I'm gonna say the first thing that stands out to me most in that video is experience. That word was said so many times, and that's exactly what it is. It's creating a single user experience with simplicity. If you pay attention to detail on that, I absolutely was a huge fan of seeing the students being able to be seen online and virtually, the students sharing content one another. It's absolutely incredible. What adds to it in a certain sense is that the teacher had freedom to walk around. The teacher had the freedom to share content. The students had the freedom to share content as well. And that kind of shaped the experience so that the teacher is not doing much too. I believe the principal, what she said was, of all of the platforms that they've come across, that they've rolled into, put into place, this was one of them that they had to think about the least. And I think that's a very powerful statement there.
Absolutely, I agree. And when you think about the situation they were in of needing to get up and running quickly to support that continuity of education, and then having to get their teachers to adopt the technology, it couldn't be complicated, right? So the trick is, if you're looking for that shortcut trick of how can we make it easier for educators to adopt this technology and make it seamless, it's by having that easy to use interface. And if you could, I just want to share a quick slide because this just kind of gives you a up close visual of the interface with Logitech and Zoom Rooms, and it is a single user experience. It's the tap touch controller. Can you see that one? Yes, there you go. And so what's unique about what Logitech brings to this the video space is that regardless of whether or not you have a small, medium, or large boardroom or a classroom that you customize, you want all of your staff, whether it's an IT decision maker, whether it's an educator, whether it's a teaching assistant, to come in and be able to touch to join. So with that integrated scheduling that's on there and in the ability to seamlessly share content from it, it allows educators to focus on building curriculum, keeping students engaged, and really focusing on the overall well-being of students and making a really a collaborative experience. So I think the user experience made it easy. That I think is one of the things that they spoke to about. And then the next thing I would I just think stood out for me was management. And you don't normally hear as much from IT decision makers on how in the world are we going to roll this out that quickly, and how are we going to manage it? How are we going to keep things updated? How are we going to ensure that these devices are online so that an educator can just walk in and touch to join their meeting? And it's by giving them a centralized room management platform with Logitech's Sync, as well as with the Zoom device management platform. So this really allows them to monitor and analyze how all of their classrooms are up and running. So simplicity in setup, simplicity in use, as well as simplicity in management, I would say, are kind of their key tools to keep things up and running and make hybrid learning easy to adopt.
Excellent. Yeah, that's awesome. This segues nicely too. And Anthony, this one is directed a little bit towards you, but oftentimes we get the question around, what's the difference between Zoom meetings in the classroom over Zoom rooms, and why can't I just use Zoom meetings instead? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, certainly, Brandon. So with Zoom meetings, it absolutely will connect students, but I believe that the advantages to using Zoom rooms over Zoom meetings is that when you use Zoom meetings, you're signing in, you're signing out, right? You could share content, but it's just you sharing content out to all the individuals online, right? But then when you use Zoom rooms, right, you have the ability to share content to everyone in the class and everyone online, but you also bring the aspect in of everybody in the classroom can actually share content and to the individuals online. Because if you use a Zoom meeting platform apart from a Zoom room, in order for that content, the student that sits in the back of the classroom to share some sort of content or whatever math problem they're working on, they would actually have to sign into the Zoom meeting, join, click share, find their content, put it up there. Where with Zoom rooms, it's honestly just a single click of a button to be able to join and share content. So it's a simplified single user experience.
Yeah, and I love the fact that your Zoom meeting account goes anywhere with you, right? You have that. You can be up and running, teach from home. But with those Zoom rooms, it's dedicated to a room environment. So Zoom meetings go with you anywhere, but your Zoom rooms are dedicated to a room system. So it would work with maybe a Logitech systems that's deployed within a room environment. And I like to always share, if we could just show another visual again, I'm one of those people who learns best by seeing. And I just like to show an example of different room deployment options. So Logitech can deploy in a BYOD device mode, where in this instance, an educator brings their laptop to the environment. In order for that room, they can use a Zoom meeting with that, right? Because it's dedicated to that laptop, and wherever that educator goes, they can take it with them. They can be up and running instantly. But the challenge to this type of environment is, what if that teacher is sick? What if their laptop crashes? That class running depends on that one PC working properly, right? And it's managed by an educator who may be having to take that laptop back and forth between environments. So again, it could be an unstable platform to run a class from. But the other methods you can roll out Logitech Room solutions is by having a dedicated compute. You may have a Lenovo or a Dell platform your school district uses, and you want to use that as your control in the classroom. But again, having that tap controller. And then the next mode we have is an appliance. So you've got 3 deployment options, room deployment options to choose from with Logitech. But when you look at the value of a Zoom room, is it having that dedicated compute or an appliance-based solution with that single user experience across them. And I'm just going to show one more slide to share with you some of the flexibility and options that you have with Zoom Rooms. So again, a Logitech all-in-one solution would be something like our Rally bar, or our Rally mini bar. And again, it's got the all-in-one audio video included, and it can be an appliance-based solution. You can also move over to a flexible deployment model. So we have these appliance-based solutions, but we also have room bundled solutions like you saw with Appleby, which more modular, and it gives you flexibility in how you design that room. So you've got some choices there. And then with the flexible solutions, you can pick your PC platform, like I had mentioned previously. And then again, you've got your Zoom Rooms Classic with your touch control with your PC. And then if you have an environment where you want to use an interactive display or a companion whiteboard where you maybe want to have your projection system, and then on the side, you want to have an interactive whiteboard to share content seamlessly, you can do that. But you can also actually use an interactive display to control your entire meeting as well. So to touch to join and not use that touch control. So again, Zoom rooms your way. You've got a lot of flexibility with Logitech and deployment options. But I'd like to just take you into one feature here. So if we look at what the value of a Zoom room license brings to an education environment, it's really big on that engagement piece, right? How can I add a companion whiteboard to this environment? How can I make it easy to touch and interact with my content with a touch display? All of those capabilities come in the classroom environment. So if you're thinking about what the value does a Zoom room license bring to an educator in the classroom, the two on the left-hand side here, these 2 points, the companion whiteboard and that touch control is the value to an educator. But I would love for Anthony to talk about how the value of a Zoom room extends beyond the walls of the classroom into maybe a campus environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Roseanne, I love that. Beyond the walls of a classroom. We think about in that slide, you saw that there was scheduling displays, digital signage, ability to be able to do wayfinding, know where you're going, right? It's all included with your Zoom room license. And essentially the value of that is it's creating not only a solution for the classroom, but it's really a complete campus solution where it touches those points. Like if you need to announce like a sports game that's coming up in your, at your university or high school, and it drives notifications out to people. Otherwise, they would be normally using like email or something like that. But the cool thing about it is it's included in the Zoom room license, and it's all managed from that single pane of glass still.
Yeah, that's awesome. And really, we've kind of come full circle because we've talked about all the solutions, the different ways that we can approach solving for these challenges in the different environments. But at the end of the day, the question really comes down to, where are we getting the funds for this? How are we going to pay for this? And what help is out there to help us leverage those programs that might be existing? We've heard of a lot of different ways on how you guys can solve for these technologies. Is Logitech and Zoom, are you guys able to help these educators as well find these funds and locate, where they can pull them from?
Absolutely. If you wouldn't mind if I jumped in here to address this question. So I'd like to just share with you that Logitech actually has a grant services program that is offered through Rahi Systems. And basically this is a program that's dedicated to enabling educators to get access to basically connect the dots between your education program or project with funding to support that project. It is a complimentary service. You get access to funding experts, grant services experts, and some of the top recipients in the education space that apply to grants are public school districts, charter schools, and then the university level, again, universities, libraries, and museums. You can see here on this slide. So this is our grant services program, again, complimentary service offering to allow you to help plan and supplement your funding needs for an education environment. However, I think what everybody's really familiar with today is the fact that there has been an influx of funding to help support educational institutions and to get up and running quickly, to support continuity, to adapt to the next normal, right? And our funding assistance program is really adaptable and has adapted to the current environment. So if you are currently interested in funding a remote learning project, if you're looking at ways that you can leverage the CARES Act to invest in technology to support your needs on your campus or in your university setting, please reach out to Rahi Systems. They can engage with you and help guide you through how do you apply for the CARES Act funding? What are the gotchas? How do I build out my justification and submit my application? So Logitech funding experts work with you and Rahi to meet the needs of your current funding projects through the CARES Act. And then down the road, as you're looking to apply for additional funding, Logitech can work with you to identify which funding grants are available for you as well. So we've got two methods or ways that we can help you, and the best way to get access to funding assistance and to help you build that project plan is to reach out to Rahi to get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rosanna. I really appreciate it. We've left a few minutes here at the end to open up the floor to any questions. Simon, did anyone post any questions to the chat?
Absolutely. Nicola Boykin. Hello, I'm an administrator and I'm learning how to navigate Zoom. If there are any questions that my teachers have, is there a specific person I can talk live to?
Yeah, I'll take that question. Nikolai, you can actually connect with your account executive, who will connect you with the customer success team in regards to any support concerns or enablement capabilities.
All right, and the second question we have is from Min Solarzano. Anthony, who can I contact to inquire about paid subscription with Zoom and safeguard pertaining to phishing?
Again, that one's going to be directed back to your AE, and your AE will schedule a meeting with myself as well as the security team. And just future reference for any other questions people might be thinking about, please put them in there. But if you have any questions around distance learning, you can also discuss that with the Rahi team and myself. If you engage with your AE, 99% sure you're going to be speaking with me as well.
Any other questions, Simon?
Yes, we have another question from Glenn Fester. Tell me about Logitech room microphone systems to pick up teachers and student voices.
Well, that's a great question. We actually have a variety of solutions depending on your room configuration. If you roll out one of our appliance-based solutions, you might want to add on a secondary microphone. If you have an integrated or modular room system where it's integrated into that room environment, we have the ability to install additional microphones into the ceiling if you like to do that. So we have plenum rated cables and custom audio solutions to meet the needs of your specific classroom environment. Or conference room, I should say. Sorry about that, yeah.
Min Solarzano asked a follow-up question. Can we post a link to the account executive somewhere?
You can email, I can't post a link here, but you can email us at support@zoom.us, and we should be able to assist you there, or sales@zoom.us.
And there's a similar follow-up question from Jennifer Jakubovic. I apologize if I butchered your name. Can you please post information on how to contact the Rahi sales team?
We can absolutely post information on how to do that for sure. We'll post it in the chat.
Stacy Boyd asks, what an opportunity. We currently have a paid subscription with Zoom. Who do we contact for pricing? Rahi, Zoom, or Logitech?
Rahi.
You know, Rahi. Yeah, for sure. Go to Rahi.
We can certainly help you out with that.
Oh.
All right, and that looks like that's all the questions we have at this time.
Okay, I did actually get asked a question right before this meeting from an educator that I want to throw out there in case you're not thinking about it already. But we've talked about solutions for the pandemic, but beyond the pandemic, that's another question that I believe needs to be addressed. For myself, I think we've all heard the saying, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I found every reason to skip school when I was in K through 12 and higher ed. My parents know it. They said to be honest, so I'm going to be honest with all of you when I say this. I skipped a lot of school. But, you know, whether I had an excuse because I had a tummy ache or whatever it might be, I want you guys to think about beyond the pandemic. Right now, we're doing blended learning. I say that COVID was a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because we bring technology into the educational space. It's a curse because our kids have lost that physical interaction, that engagement for the last year. but I think that it's important to touch on that beyond COVID, beyond the pandemic, blended learning may be here to stay, in the sense that maybe your child is sick. Why do they have to get the take-home homework anymore when they can sit behind their iPad or their laptop and still learn online? So please keep that in mind when you think about blended learning. It's not just for the pandemic, it's far beyond, right? They've been doing this in college for learning online forever. Now we've just taken it to the next level.
I agree.
Awesome.
I could agree with that, Anthony, and just say that that community that we all need to be in, right, is a part of that face-to-face. The value that Logitech and Zoom bring to the future classroom is the ability to meet students where they are. So if you do have students who have maybe some learning loss from spending a lot of time away from the classroom, there could be some summer programs that can be set up to help catch up kids, to also maybe use the Zoom rooms and Logitech rooms to record content and make those classes available so that students can go back and maybe do some reinforced learning as well if you post that to learning management systems. So these rooms don't necessarily just have to be leveraged for that live interactive learning. It can be used for recordings as well, to make learning accessible to students and help meet them where they are as well. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share about our solutions today, Brandon and the Rahi team.
I really appreciate you two, Roseanne and Anthony. Your contribution today was extremely helpful, and I think everyone on this call could agree. We've talked a lot today about how Logitech and Zoom can help simplify the experience for students, educators, and parents even, right? And when you pair, two powerhouses like yourself with someone like Rahi, and really make it a collaborative conversation with end users to try to overcome these challenges that you might be facing, right? And they could be challenges, down to the classroom level or all the way up to the full campus level. There's no challenge too big or too small for us to want to try to help you guys overcome. So really, I want you to think about reaching out to Rahi for your next opportunity, collaborate with our engineers. We've seen every situation by this point and can really help advise you on what's been successful and what hasn't been with certain clients and certain educators, depending on what challenges they were facing, right? So please bring us to your next opportunity. Reach out to us via email or give us a call directly, and we'd be happy to help you. Thank you again for taking part in today's discussion. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.